Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're on to our fifth and final segment of the night, talking about my live draft reaction. It is my favorite night in hockey. I love talking about prospects. I love talking about the drafts. It doesn't get me more excited than the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, but it does get me more excited than like a second round matchup in a Stanley Cup playoff. I do love the NHL draft, seeing these guys, dreams come true, seeing these guys that I do scout for, months prior finally get, to come to fruition, and all the hard work that I do that goes into the scouting, seeing how it unveils, as it is almost always wrong, but I did do a pretty good job this year, and I'm kind of proud of that one. But going into this, it's Macklin Celebrini that's the number one overall pick. We all knew that it was going to be Macklin Celebrini being the number one overall pick. Center out of Boston University, the best two-way player in this entire draft, has very fantastic hands to go along, and a really great skater too. He does also have a good shot that helps him out a lot as well. Macklin Celebrini was the number one overall pick. We all knew that. Next was Artem Levshinov, freshman out of Michigan State. Big Ten Player of the Year out of Michigan State, or Big Ten Defenseman of the Year, not Player of the Year. Player of the Year went to a Michigan forward, if I'm not mistaken. I think it did go to a Michigan forward, or it went to Jimmy Snuggerud. It might be Gavin Brindley that got Big Ten Player of the Year. But, anyways, Artem Levshinov, Big Ten Defenseman of the Year, fantastic. He does have a very great offensive mindset, but does play a good defensive game too. He is also he has a pretty good build for a defenseman in the NHL. I think he'll be able to help out the Chicago Blackhawks a lot. Next was the Anaheim Ducks, and I saw a report a couple days ago, and you guys can check the short that I did on the YouTube channel earlier today. I called it. I said Beckett Sinek could definitely make his way up to number 3 overall. He didn't even know that, and I did. I called it. I said that he could make his way up to number 3. I said it was either going to be Z Byam or Beckett Sinek, and it ended up being, I might be butchering his name, but I've heard like 5 different pronunciations of his name. But he is the number 3 overall pick to the Anaheim Ducks. The winger adds, their forward group is really good, but they also have Pavel Minchikov on the D. On their defensive line. So I think the Anaheim Ducks are really set up. I think there's a couple more years of them being bad, but I think they're on their way up. The Blue Jackets had the number 4 pick, another top 5 pick for the Blue Jackets. It's been like every single year since 2021, since they got Kent Johnson at 5th overall, that they've had a top 5 pick. Kent Johnson at 5th overall, David Jiricek at 6th overall, Adam Fantilli at 3 overall. Now they're adding Caden Lindstrom to that core. Caden Lindstrom, 6'3", center, 225. That guy is a huge body, going to be a fantastic player in the NHL one day. Had back plate separation that held him out for half the season of the WHL season, but he looks healthy, looks good to go, and he will probably play for the Blue Jackets next season. Now the Blue Jackets down the middle for the foreseeable future has Adam Fantilli, Caden Lindstrom, Cole Sillinger, and Dmitry Voronkov. That's a pretty good forward, or that's a pretty good center core with a lot of big bodies there. Dmitry Voronkov's a huge guy, and Caden Lindstrom is huge as well. Then probably the steal of the draft at number 5 overall, Ivan Demidov, probably the most skilled forward of this draft, going to the Montreal Canadiens. And through the first 4 picks, through the first 5 picks, I got 4 of them right. The only one I got wrong was Beckett Sinek, but I did say that he was going to get drafted 3rd overall. I just didn't have any confidence in actually predicting that, so I had Z Byam at 3rd overall. But I don't feel bad with getting that one wrong. Next, I had Silyev on my board. He ended up dropping all the way down to 10th. He dropped all the way down to 10th, was Anton Silyev. I had him up that high because he fantastic, or he is a huge body. He's 6'7". He has a fantastic frame. That's what I was going to say. But it ended up being TJ Ginla here. Utah Hockey Club could have really gone anywhere. They go TJ Ginla, who has the highest floor, as I've heard a lot of scouts say, in this draft. Jerome McGinley's son. I mean, you can't go wrong with getting that genetics on your team. So TJ Ginla goes 6th overall, goes 5 picks higher than his dad went. His dad went 11th overall, so TJ Ginla at 6. Then it was Carter Yakimchuk, the second defenseman off the board, the first of like kind of the rest defensemen. I had this as a little bit of a reach. I had Yakimchuk as kind of the 4th or 5th best defenseman of this draft. 4th or 5th best defenseman of this draft, but him, Zane Parekh, Anton Silyev, Sam Dickinson, those guys could have gone anywhere, and they ended up going pretty subsequently to each other. So it's Carter Yakimchuk at 7, Berkeley Cannon at number 8. I think that is a fantastic pick for the Seattle Kraken. They add a center to match up with Matty Beniers now. That's going to be a pretty good team, the Seattle Kraken will be. Zane Parekh goes number 9 to the Calgary Flames. 10th overall went Anton Silyev to the New Jersey Devils, who look like to be in win now mode. They try to trade away number 10 overall, unable to find any buyers for it, so they just stick and draft a pretty fantastic defensive prospect out of the KHL. Sam Dickinson goes 11th, the London Knight from the OHL. Z Byam finally goes at 12th. This was our first trade of this draft. It was the Minnesota Wild trading up 1, and I knew it was going to be for Z Byam. I had him at number 3rd overall. He ends up dropping all the way down to 12. I have this as the steal of the draft. Z Byam is a fantastic defenseman out of Denver University. I probably, honestly, I think in my grades I had him above Artem Levshinov as the best defenseman in this draft. So I loved how he played in Denver University, so congratulations to the Minnesota Wild for getting that steal. And then it was the Flyers that got Jet Lushenko, who I had at 28th overall. No, I had Jet Lushenko at 25th overall. He ends up going 12, so 13 spots above where I had him. A little bit of a reach for me. However, Jet, I could see the upside. He's a very fast skater. I just worry about his size a little bit. Next, Konsta Helenius, center from Finland. I had him at 14. He goes 14th overall to the Buffalo Sabres. They end up trading down with the San Jose Sharks, who drafted Sam Dickinson at 11 to get Konsta Helenius at number 14. I had Dickinson at 11. I had Helenius at 14. So, honestly, both teams in that trade did well. Got the player that I expected them to get. Next was Michael Brandsegg-Njugård. I had him at 16. He goes 15th overall. That's a good prospect. I actually had him at 15. He does go 15. I had that one correct as well. That's a good prospect. No real problems with it. Next was Adam Juracek at 16 to the St. Louis Blues. Now, this is the one I have a problem with. Adam Juracek had 1 point all year. I know he's a defenseman, and I know you don't draft defensemen because of their offensive production, but he had 1 point all season in granted, I think he played in a professional league, but 1 point all season is pretty rough. I had him at 28th, and I still feel confident. I think this is a reach by the St. Louis Blues. I don't think that he is as good as a first-round talent. I had him at 28th because that was more predictive. Honestly, I think I would have had him in the 3rd round if we're going off of what I felt like their talent is, which I could be a little bit harsh, but I don't believe Adam Juracek is even close to being NHL ready. But I digress. Next, pick 17 to the Capitals. It's Tariq Parashak. I had Tariq Parashak at I'm at 24th overall. He goes 17th overall to the Capitals. So jumping up about 7 spots. That makes sense. For where we're at in the draft here, it just kind of go any direction. Next is Sasha Boisvert out of the OHL, if I'm not mistaken, maybe WHL, but Sasha Boisvert I had at 21. He ends up going to 18, right around where I had him. Next, Trevor Connolly, 19. I had him at 18, drops 1 spot from my ranking, but pretty close. Cole Eiserman, this is the fall of the draft. He goes 20th. I had him up to 7. He drops 13 spots in my ranking. I talked about Z Byam being a drop-off here, but it's really Cole Eiserman that got kind of he fell a lot. The the highest scoring player of the United States National Team Development Program history, drops to 20th overall. That could be a steal from the Islanders, but with so many general managers, taking a flyer on him, it seems like that there's a little bit more that I just don't know. Next is Michael Haig out of the Chicago Steel. He goes 21st overall. I had him at 16, so dropping 5 spots. Yegor Surin at 22. I had Yegor Surin at 27. He jumps up 5 spots. Going fast here now. Stian Solberg goes 23rd. I am up at 13, so he drops 10 spots. Next is Cole Badone, who I think I had out of the first round. I did have him out of the first round. Dean Letourneau, who I had him at 29, he goes 25th. Liam Greentree, who I had at 20th, he goes 26th. Marek Vanacker, who I had out of the first round. Matvei Grudin. And then right now we have Emil Hemming from the Dallas Stars is the most recent pick at 29th. As we get to this point in the draft, as we get to the late first round of this draft, it is a weaker draft, so I do expect kind of all over the place, some reaches, some falls, but honestly, this was one of the more difficult but more fun drafts to kind of scout and to do analysis on, and I think I did pretty good. I think I was pretty close with a lot. The middle of the first really surprises me how well I did, because I felt like that was the area of the draft where it was kind of all over the place. That will do it for this Friday edition of the GSMC Hockey Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. All the support means so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Rate us on any podcast platform that you are listening to on if you did enjoy this episode. Also remember to like or to follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram if you would like more content and updates from the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you all once again for tuning in to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, and all of you have a fantastic and wonderful night.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't that great. I don't wanna go to